Hello, my name is Sheila Young, Club Manager for Winty Vineyards, and I'm here with Executive Chef Anthony as well as Head Baker Bryan, and we are going to talk about how to build an amazing charcuterie and cheese board. So I'm standing here with the Nikki's Rosé, which is a part of the new release. We also have the Duetto and Artisan Red. So we're going to start off by talking about the structure. I know, Chef, when I go to build a charcuterie and cheese board, I always need help with the placement and the structure and the components. So I'm going to hand it over to you and Bryan.
Thank you, Sheila. Thank you for having us today. So today we're going to actually walk you through quickly presenting and building a cheese and charcuterie board. You're going to start with a board, and this can definitely be anything that you have at home. It could be a ceramic plate, whatever you have that can have a nice little display of all of your goodies. You're also going to want to have a couple of little ramekins or small dishes to kind of separate maybe some nuts or jams, little tongs to pick up, little fork, a little knife for cutting or spreading, and then maybe another dish to hold some warm olives or whatever you have. Okay, so let's get started. Quickly walk you through how we set it up here at the tasting lounge. And so the idea is you want to have a focal point that you're going to build from that creates the flow of your board, and then also just making sure that you have negative space. So you just want to make sure that when you're building, you're structuring it with, like I said, a focal point, and then just centering all of your components so that you have a nice negative space around to highlight the items on your board. So here we go. This dish would be what would be holding your olives and your mozzarella. And then I'm going to start putting down the charcuterie.
So Chef Anthony right now is going to frame his focal point with his
Sopressata.
Sopressata, thank you.
Okay.
Sopressata, and you can see how he's adding some height there as well.
Yeah, and so the idea is just, so you're starting off with, your cuts of meat that you've already had sliced or you purchased sliced, and then you just want to making sure that you're creating texture. So on this one, we do the little pucker, and that's creating what we like to call our meat flowers. All right, and that's just like Bryan was saying, creating that height, that texture to your board, and then just starting to create that framework that you're going to build off of.
And so all the meats that we're using here are on the saltier type nature, so they will go very well with the 2018 Duetto, which is in your shipment.
Yeah, and then just like the prosciutto, it's a nice mild. This is a pork product, and so this one has a nice sweetness, a nice mild flavor and texture that's going to go well with your rosé. And like Bryan was saying, your gamier, your saltier, and bolder meats are going to pair well with all of your reds. And so once you have your meats down, then you want to create your next line. And that's going to separate your meats from your cheeses or from your fruits, what have you. And so here we're going to start with this beautiful line of our rosemary and sea salt crackers. Okay, and then that creates that barrier, especially if you're serving this with a mixed crowd and you have vegetarians and you don't have, the animal product touching the cheeses. Next thing would be creating a next focal point or next point of contact. And this here is just going to be our bowl of spice nuts.
You can see how Chef Anthony here placed the spice nuts in a separate container off the board. So if there's any allergens present, then you can keep those separated as well.
All right, and then building off of that, we're going to go and lay down our first cheese. And this is going to be the brie. Okay, and then followed by the Point Reyes Toma. And so the idea is having your cheeses cut, in different shapes, so that you're creating more elements on your board that just are more appealing to the eye.
So the cuts of cheese are totally up to you. You can go cubed, you can go sliced, make any kind of a crumble you want, which makes a nice texture and gives it a new element to the board as well.
Yeah, and so just like this, as I have it, or something as simple as just taking this drier cave-aged cheddar and then just breaking it up and just creating this little crumble, just adding little bites that you can add if you're going to combine a piece of meat with a piece of the cheese.
And just keep in mind when you're building your board as well, what wines will accompany what cheeses you have. All of these cheeses here will go very nice with our rosé, especially the softer cheeses go with the softer wine. Our goat cheese here, the Point Reyes goat cheese, would go very well with your red wines.
Okay, and then getting into that sweetness, you want to add some flavor components like this apple here. We're going to go into some of the berries, and so that is just going to pick up and lift up those notes from your wine, and really just completing that pairing.
And one thing I love what Chef Anthony's doing here is he's adding color as well. So there's bits and pops of color, which will automatically draw your eye to these certain places.
And again, just kind of letting it flow naturally just creates that nice cascading look and feel. And like you said, bringing that pop of color.
Okay.
The next thing we're going to do is just add one thing that's definitely pairs well with wine, and that's going to be your chocolate.
Which is my favorite part of this entire board.
And so this can be placed anywhere. If you want to place it next to your fruit, you can do that. I have a little space right here, so I'm just going to put this here. And the fun thing, like I was saying, is it's just whatever you feel the flow is going to be, and just basically creating a space that's grazable. So it's just kind of fun to be able to pick through and pick up your favorite elements. And if you have, like I said, you have a group that's tasting different wines, can be enjoying, a different combination of items to pair well with that glass.
And to add on what Chef Anthony was just talking about, so just use your imagination. This is like a palette, and you're just trying to paint a picture with your different elements for your board.
Okay, and something that also pairs well is just a little bit of some fruit compote. So here I'm going to be placing our fig and cranberry compote. So that's just been cooked down with a little bit of sugar and then pureed smooth. All right, and so we're nearly done. The last thing that we're going to want to do is just, after we've placed all of our items, is garnish. And so this is going to add that little pop of color, that little bit of height, as well as other sensory items. Like this rosemary is very fragrant, and that's also, part of the experience. And then lastly, definitely not a necessity, but just popping in some edible flowers. These can be any variety of edible flowers or just garnishes that your guests won't typically eat. Just let them know beforehand. And then that way, these can match your party, whether there's a color theme. Maybe it's a garden party. All right. And so here you go.
Well, there you have it. Thank you so much, Chef Anthony and Chef Bryan. What a lovely cheese display. Now, club members, you have the chance to make this in the comfort of your own home based on that how to build that lovely charcuterie and cheese board. We look forward to you showing off your designs on March 2nd at our virtual tasting. So cheers, and we hope to see you there.
Cheers. Cheers.